Hi, my name is Hannah Sharts, and this is the Athletes Podcast.
The Athletes Podcast featuring Hannah Sharts. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your story to educate, entertain, and inspire the next generation of athletes. Thank you for welcoming us into your home here at University of Colorado Boulder. How does it feel?
I feel honored that you guys picked me. I was really excited when you guys messaged me, and I'm glad you guys made it safely to Boulder and can take some time to see what it's like out here.
Fuel efficiency took a hit on the last climb up here. It's a little bit of an incline, but we made the trek. It's beautiful. The scenery's here incredible. What does it feel like to attend school here, be the captain for the second year, fifth year university student here? Share what it's like to be, one of the top players on your team and treading towards an incredible season.
It's been a dream come true and more. Boulder has really become a home for me. And I was a little nervous making the jump, transferring out of state. I'm a big homebody for sure. So that was a big factor in my recruiting process the first time around, as I was really looking at California schools mainly. So when I was transferring and took the leap to go out of state, I was a little nervous about it, but Colorado's become a home to me, and I love it so much now.
Okay, so born and raised in California, you spend your first year at UCLA, where your mom played. Pretty incredible to have that kind of connection there. But talk about what that transition has been like from California to Colorado. You said that the views are almost as good here as they are in California. What's the best part about Boulder?
I would say the scenery. I'd say Boulder has better views than California. Okay. I do like the beach, and obviously those views are amazing, but Boulder's just so unique, and it's so different from anything I had ever seen before. So that was a huge draw for me in coming here. But I was worried about the weather a little bit, being a California kid. We're spoiled with nice sunny weather all year round. So I was a little nervous about the snow. I had been up to the snow before a few times back home, but nothing like living in the snow long term. And honestly, it's really surprising of how many days of sun we have a year. I think it's 300 or a little bit above. So even in the cold, you're not really feeling it like you're in the cold that much. There could be snow on the ground, but it's still sunny out, and it's just really beautiful. I love it.
Snowboard, skiing, snowshoe? I
actually haven't, and that surprises a lot of people. They'll ask me, why do you even go to school there if you don't ski or snowboard? Just because it's such a huge hit here. And so many of my teammates love it, but I just never grew up doing that. I'm kind of scared to try it now, to be honest. I wouldn't want to get hurt or do anything like that, but maybe one day I'll try.
Yeah, you got to try it, especially when you're in a place like this. I grew up in BC, where the mountains are incredible. An hour away you can be skiing, an hour away the other direction you can be surfing. So fortunate to have that, and you got to take advantage of it. Ski or snowboard, you're an athlete, you can do it, whatever you need to. You'll be just fine. You talked about your teammates, the team that you have here at Boulder. Can you maybe speak to that group of gals that you have right now that you're heading into this season with? And you've got a game Thursday against Oregon. Tell me about how your team's looking.
Yeah, we have a really good squad this year. I think it's definitely the deepest and most talented team that we've had since I've been here. So that's been really exciting. But from a chemistry piece, I think we all are gelling really well together. Everyone, I think, recognizes our potential and how good we can be. So I think that's a big piece that gels us together, and everyone just is on board and wants to do really well. So it's been fun.
We were talking about it before we recorded, but I think you guys have an advantage at Boulder, or anywhere in Denver for that matter, with the altitude. You guys try and take advantage of the other team when they're a little out of breath?
We do, for sure. We have a huge sign at our home field that says the elevation, and it's kind of funny. Looking back when I was on the UCLA team and we traveled here, I had taken a picture on my phone of the elevation sign, just thinking it was really cool and unique. And then a year later, I ended up transferring here, and that picture popped up on my phone. So it was just kind of a full circle moment per se. But we definitely do try to take advantage, especially on the Sunday games. When teams have been in altitude for 4 to 5 days, it definitely starts to wear on you, and that's when it starts to hit you the most. So we try to be really fit every year just to give us even more of an edge of training here every summer. And we hope it helps in our favor.
Yeah, it's we haven't really been impacted too hard. I mean, I went hard in the gym for 20 minutes and I was out of breath, but that's normal for me. So I'm curious, when it comes to that first year where you were at UCLA as a red shirt, talk to me about that experience, what it was like going from first year maybe not being valued as much as you felt like you deserved to be, and then that transfer process, what it was like.
Yeah, so my first year I had redshirted, and I had talked with the coaches about it, and we had a stacked team that year, and it was mainly seniors starting, so I knew I probably wasn't going to be playing anyways. So after meeting with the coach, we decided it'd be best to redshirt that year, which looking back I'm so grateful for, because in the end I guess it was looking out for me, and it allowed me to have an extra year at CU in the end, so yeah. I'm really grateful for it. But I really just tried to learn as much as I could that first year, and just learn from all of my teammates and continue to work hard. But you know, when you're not playing in games, it's just so much of a learning year from the sidelines, and it's hard mentally because, you know, you do want to be out there and everything. But I was confident and grateful to have that year preserved for later. And then my next season, I didn't get the minutes that I was hoping for, the chance that I was hoping for to be able to prove myself and play after redshirting that first year. So that's ultimately what prompted me to transfer.
And no regrets? No, like everything in the rearview mirror, I'm assuming.
No, I have no regrets. It was the best decision I ever could have made. And I know right now the transfer portal's crazy with everything going on with the extra COVID year and the NIL stuff. And I'm really grateful that I transferred when I did. And the grass isn't always greener, but for me, it was as green as possible in the end. So I'm just so grateful to be here every single day.
It must have been a difficult decision to make that transfer when that was a school that I'm assuming you dreamed about going to your whole life, your mom playing there. Maybe walk us through what that decision-making process looked like.
It was really hard. I'm really grateful that I had my family to be my rocks and just remind me that of my worth and that I deserved to play somewhere. And they were just a constant reminder that I couldn't let one experience let me down. And it's actually funny because my dad was a transfer. He went to the University of Miami and played baseball there, and then he ended up transferring home to CSUN. So he was a transfer, so having that wisdom really helped me in the process. But it was really scary. I had dreamed of going to UCLA my entire life. I'd been a Bruin since I was a baby. I just bled blue and gold since I was little. So I had that was always a dream to go there. And when it was a reality, it was an amazing feeling. But then I soon realized, you know, it wasn't going to be the best fit for me after all, soccer-wise. But I loved the school. I love all my friends. I still go back and visit them every time I go home, and UCLA is like a second home to me also, so I'm grateful that I've had two college experiences actually. Yeah,
not a bad thing to have a couple of the top institutions in the country to be able to just walk in and have friends at, right? You won 2 high school MVPs, leading your team to 3 consecutive league titles. What other sports did you play growing up? Because I'm assuming it wasn't just soccer.
Yeah, my sister and I played baseball, softball, basketball, and then soccer. And at one point, I don't know how my parents did it, but we had basketball, softball, and soccer all going at the same time before high school. And I don't know how they did it to this day. I don't know how we had that many car rides and the energy to do that, but we played those 3 sports up until high school, and then we realized like soccer was our main passion, and that was the sport that would probably take us the furthest, so we stuck with that, and we enjoyed it the most.
Yeah, a soccer family through and through. Your sister plays, like, was there just like matches going on in the living room after dessert? Oh my goodness,
there was a lot. This is so funny. We were just talking about this today. My sister and I were 2.5 years apart, and we used to always play 1v1 against each other in the backyard. Okay. And because we had a soccer goal back there, like for as long as I could remember. And we would get into so many arguments, and it would always end in someone being upset at the other person, like, oh, this foul wasn't called, and we'd make my mom ref it. So it caused a lot of arguments, a lot of broken lights in the backyard, like the gardening lamps. But those were some of the best memories, honestly, and it just speaks to how competitive we were and how that transition into now. She plays soccer at Kansas State, so both collegiate athletes playing soccer, and yeah, I give credit to the backyard one-on-one battles, honestly.
People underestimate what the power a sibling rivalry can provide. I had it growing up with my brother. There are many other athletes who've been on the show here who've echoed similar experiences, and you cannot compete with anyone else the same way you compete with your sibling, because you get away with some stuff and you don't know what they're going to pull off either, so you got to stay on your toes.
Yeah.
When it comes to being on the field, soccer is still a pretty aggressive physical sport, despite maybe what's seen on the surface level or what people assume. What is it like for you, having gone through, played both Pac-12, now over here in Colorado, like the transition of 5 years of playing university sport and then what's to come? How are you preparing for that next step?
I think everything just stems from my love of the game. And like you said, soccer is it can be very physical. And I think that's how I've always kind of played. My mom, she still plays, and she's just always had like a warrior mentality in everything that she's done. And I think my sister and I definitely implement that in our current play. But I do have aspirations to play professionally, so I'm hoping that's an option for me after this fall season. But until then, I'm just trying to enjoy every moment that I can, because time's already going by so fast, and I'm done in December with soccer collegiately and then my master's as well. So I know it's all going to end at once, and it makes me really sad just thinking about it every day. But I'm just trying to be in the present and enjoy the moment, and then hope things unfold for me afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week, top drawer soccer team. Like, you've got a couple Pac-12 accolades that I'm not going to list off here because it would take too long and I'd be out of breath again. But when it comes to like your long-term, is there a team that you'd idolize being able to play for or dream of growing up that you like, other than the Bruins, obviously?
I loved watching our national team when we were younger, and I think so many, like, that would obviously still be a dream of mine. But I watch a lot of the NWSL currently, and I love what so many of the teams are doing. And, you know, Kansas City's on the forefront of building the first women's professional stadium, so I think that's incredible. Angel City, you know, with their fan engagement and how they're, I think they're a majority women-owned organization, and I love everything that they do off the field. But ultimately, I would just be grateful to play for any one of those teams or in Europe if the opportunity comes. But yeah.
I know you're a fan of Messi. Is there anyone else that you grew up idolizing or trying to emulate your game after?
Messi was always a player that was just really fun to watch for me. Not that I was not similar to him at all, you know, especially with the size difference and how we play. I think it's really different. But I loved Abby Wambach growing up with her height and her aerial presence. I really looked up to her. Marta was another player that I thought was just super fun to watch, and she always brought her own flair to the game. And outside of soccer, definitely Serena Williams, especially with her retiring. It was really sad for me, just for everything she represents more than the sport, and for women in sports, and how much fire she plays with in every one of her matches. I really, really respect that.
Arguably the greatest athlete of all time.
Yeah, on top of everything else.
Yeah, and you know, now she's doing some other extracurriculars. She's doing amazing work now post sport, which is something I always love, because athletes can be incredible on the field, but it takes another level to apply that same effort and intensity off the field afterwards. And some people have that, and there's a little sparkle in your eye when you talked about the flair that is involved with an Abby Wambach or a Serena Williams. If you could describe the way you play in one or two words, what would it be?
Ooh, I would say fiercely and passionately.
Okay.
I think I really put my whole heart into every game, and I just love the game so much. And I'm just reminded every day that I'm just grateful to be out there, and I'm lucky to be out there, because you never really know what's ever to come next. But yeah.
Have you experienced any injuries that have like caused you to be off the field? I know I was doing some research, and you've played basically every game since transferring. Yeah. You've been able to stay healthy, which is incredible. Anything you do to stay healthy?
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah.
I haven't had any major I've had some bone fractures and things like that here and there, but I've been really fortunate to not have anything taking me out of league games. I'm very superstitious, so I'm like, it's scary saying that. Hopefully I'm protected.
No, we're good.
But I just really try to take care of myself, and with treatment and being on top of that and getting enough sleep every night. I really just try to get into a routine, and I try to also get a really good relationship with my strength and conditioning coaches. Ever since I was little and started lifting, I think I've always had a close relationship with my strength coaches. So I think I really value that relationship and want them to push me as much as possible. And
when did you start lifting?
I think it was right before I went into high school.
Okay.
So now I feel like it's gotten so much earlier and earlier with people, but I think I was in 8th grade going into high school is when I started.
Okay. And favorite lift? Do you have like a workout day that you look forward to the most?
Not really, to be honest. There's not a particular day or exercise that I like the most.
You just like getting after it, hey?
I just like knowing that it's making me stronger and hopefully helping me be safe and protected.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good way to be. Honestly, that's probably a refreshing take for a lot of people to hear, because so many people are bringing the intensity, trying to get bigger, better, stronger, like 24/7, 365. Yeah. And there's a lot of health benefits to resistance training and not pushing yourself to that max every single day. I'm curious, if you were to pick a sports movie, your favorite, is there one that stands out?
My favorite sports movie. I don't know if it's I'm really bad at thinking of movies off the top of my head, but when I was younger, my sister and I always watched Kicking and Screaming just because it was it's a classic feel-good movie. That's not one that's going to like inspire me to play really well per se, but I don't think there's a movie that I really love, a sports movie that has just inspired me throughout my life, but that was always a feel-good movie, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, it's something to turn on. You mentioned your master's. You're taking it specifically in organizational leadership. Mm-hmm. How does the athletic world tie in to the academics that you're also pursuing? Because, you know, whether it's scheduling, whether it's following a routine, getting into a rhythm, like how do you apply and combine the two to become a pretty incredible student athlete?
It definitely forces you to nail your time management skills, and I've definitely learned how to do that through my academics and taking a lot of classes and trying to challenge myself in the classroom at all times. But with my master's in particular, it directly translates into my role as a captain on my team. And it's a really cool moment, you know, reading about certain concepts in your textbook and actually seeing how I can apply them directly, you know, that same day at practice or the next day. So I think my programs helped me become a better leader and also just have a more in-depth understanding of the alternative side, which is like my coach's perspective and how, you know, like one of our concepts is delivering feedback. And I've gone through so many one-on-one meetings in my life, you know, basically like performance reviews in the organizational management sense, but for soccer, we do performance reviews all the time. So just seeing those two connections and both sides is just, I think, made me a better person and leader overall.
Yeah, that's such an amazing program. I feel like every captain should be in organizational leadership at some point or take one class. You mentioned that you were pulling it out of textbooks and applying it that same day. Any that stand out to you that you can think of off the top of your head?
I think feedback is a big one. Okay. Like being able to be coachable. I've definitely tried to improve how receptive I can be to feedback. Even like I always want to learn and grow and be better to help get me to the next level. But I think my textbook talked about other cues that you may not think of, like body language when you're receiving feedback, or like just more in-depth, intimate details that can really open yourself up and have others view you as being more receptive, I guess. Especially in games, sometimes it's really hard to give feedback on one side in like a very calm tone, you know, in the heat of the moment when our games are so intense and things happen so quickly. And then, yeah, I guess in that sense.
Yeah, no, it's a great example. Like I think back to playing sports myself. I was a goalie in hockey. So fortunately communication was only occurring when they were down at my end. So I could be composed when I provided that. Maybe some guys will mention that I wasn't when I provided it, so they can correct me. But that was at least my thought process was, hey, I can at least come to a realization here and provide feedback that's actionable and that's going to be relevant to what they need right now in that moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've got that on the pitch all the time.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard making a 80-yard run up and back and then having to talk your way through things in the process, like just from a physical fatigue standpoint, but also, you know, keeping in mind mentally, like I need to communicate with this person in a way that works for them. And communication is so individualized, is what I've learned through my undergrad and my master's program. So I think just trying to implement that into my leadership can help me be more well-rounded.
Yeah, 100%. I can't even imagine having to run 90 meters to tell someone that they didn't do something right and then run all the way back. I'd be out of breath halfway through the first one. Soccer teams are not small. Correct. So you likely have a couple different personalities you're having to deal with. I don't know if you go through an Enneagram test or whatever the case may be, but you have to have an individual relationship with each player on your team, each coach on your team. How do you manage those? What's your leadership style? How do you apply it?
I actually took, I think it was a Clifton Strengths test. I went to an NCAA convention over the summer and they had us do these individual tests to learn what your leadership style was. And I think my keywords were positivity, discipline, achieving, and maybe one or two more. But I thought those were very accurate for me. I try to lead by example in my leadership style, but I think I'm a very positive person. I've always been raised with a very positive mindset and outlook on life and through challenges. So I think I try to implement that in my leadership style, but also just establishing personal relationships with people on my teams. I think I've always tried to be very inclusive and at least have some sort of a relationship with everyone. And I want everyone to know that I'm someone that they can come to if they need support. So I'd say that's more of my leadership style versus like the raw, loud. I don't think that's me as much, but
fair enough.
Yeah.
Does the team have a favorite post-game win spot to go after?
Oh, we're actually more on our own after games. We do a pregame meal, or like the night before a game, we'll do a team dinner. Yeah. But we don't go. I've been wanting to do that actually and have more team excursions after games, but I know it's hard sometimes with family in town, and a lot of people just want to be with their families, which I totally understand.
Yeah, you got to tell them the Athletes Podcast said you got to do some post-game events.
I will bring that to the other captains. So it's a good idea.
Right? You know, it's team building, camaraderie, positivity, win or lose, hit the booze. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Drink responsibly. One of the other reasons why we wanted to have this conversation today was around your work advocating for female student athletes. Between NIL, recent occurrings, actually statistics proving that female student athletes have a way higher engagement rate than males for NIL specifically. So awesome. Fun facts there that you can reference in the future. But what are you doing right now? Plans for the future? I know you started the first fundraiser for the soccer team here at Boulder. Plans moving forward?
Well, the fundraiser, we started planning it a year ago, and it actually just happened this past August.
No way, amazing.
It was the first ever fundraiser for the CU women's soccer team. And just planning that event from the ground up was a really special experience. You know, I feel so fortunate that my boss and the athletic director and all of the people on the 5th floor, which we're on right now, are so supportive of me and just believe in me. And they let me take that idea by storm. And we exceeded all of our fundraising goals. And it was such a magical night. Like I was in tears for at least an hour just after the silent auction and seeing how much money we raised and just being surrounded by so much kindness and people who are so willing to just give to help us. And especially just seeing the former alumni come back for that event. It was just like a magical night it was one of the best nights of my life, honestly. I really think so. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a story to be able to tell. And then to be able to bring that and have that as a legacy moving forward for years to come. That'll be incredible.
Thanks.
And I know what you're doing with your job here on campus, working with alumni now, ties in nicely. Here at the Champion Center, it's just like incredible facility.
It is.
What is it like for you when it comes to training and the support that they're providing? Like, are you in here every day getting work done? How are you staying fit, healthy, knock on wood, playing every game?
I would say the resources that CU provides are just unmatched. And I came from UCLA, which is such a dominant university in athletics across the board in all different sports. But just seeing how many resources CU provides, it's like second to none. I haven't seen any other university have as much help as we do here. PHP, which is like a mental health support system, our nutrition, we meet every semester with a nutritionist, at least twice a semester. We have food provided to us basically 3 meals a day. Our strength and conditioning is great. Everything is just so individualized, and our career development, I can't even explain how helpful they've been with, like anything you need, CU has it. And I think it's really special that the athletic director has his door open basically at all times. And if you ever have a concern or question or even an idea, you can just bring it to him and he'll take it with open arms and consider it. And it's just such a special, unique place that cares so much about individual development, and they really just get the bigger picture of things in life, I think. That's
so cool to hear. Being above the 49th parallel, sports are a big deal, but nothing like NCAA, Pac-12, SEC like we've been experiencing on this tour. It's incredible to say the least. So CU, no free ads. There you go. A little bump there from the AP. Clearly, you guys have some amazing facilities, and you're doing a great job with your athletes. Hannah, the way we wrap up every episode is we ask our guest what their biggest piece of advice would be for the next generation of athletes. Now, you said you were superstitious, so I don't want to throw any superstitions out of whack. But if you want to drop any of those in there to make sure that we're covering all of our bases, you can do that as well.
I would just say to believe in yourself and know. I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason, and I think that was a guiding light in all of my challenges that I have faced, is knowing this is going to make me a better person. This is going to give me some sort of better opportunity down the road by overcoming this particular challenge. And if you just believe in yourself and have confidence and lean on your support when you need it through it all, I think you can do anything that you want to.
Look at that. Episode 146 of the Athletes Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.